You know that feeling, dinner's cold on the table again. The kids are finally asleep and the house is too quiet, just the hum of the fridge and the lonely echo of your own thoughts. For months, maybe years, you tell yourself the story. He's just swamped at work. It's crunch time. This project is huge. He's a provider. You repeat it like a mantra, trying to smother that tiny, persistent voice of doubt whispering in the back of your mind. Mark was always the workaholic, right? Burning the midnight oil, missing birthdays, anniversaries, just absent, his phone glued to his hand, those sudden urgent weekend meetings. You believed him. You had to believe him, because the alternative was unthinkable. But that night, that ordinary Tuesday night waiting for his key in the lock that never turned, something snapped. That little voice screamed louder than ever. It wasn't suspicion anymore. It was a cold, hard certainty that something was deeply, terribly wrong. The excuses felt flimsy, paper thin. The missed moments stacked up like bricks. So, I did something I never imagined I'd do. I stopped just wondering and started looking. Really looking. And what I found wasn't just an affair. It wasn't a simple betrayal. It was a whole other universe he'd built while I was sitting here, keeping his home warm, raising his children, living half a life waiting for him to show up. Turns out Mark wasn't working late. He wasn't stuck at the office. He wasn't the dedicated, stressed-out husband I'd defended to our friends and family for so long. He was living a meticulously crafted double life, with another woman and another family just across town. The ultimate deception. The scale of it. The sheer breathtaking audacity. It shattered everything I thought I knew. My marriage wasn't just broken. It was a complete illusion. He wasn't just cheating. He was living two full lives, and I was the one left holding the pieces of the lie he called home. The proof is undeniable, staring me in the face. And what I did next? Well, that's where things get really complicated. And with a subtle, suspenseful sound cue fading out, it started so small. You know, little things that felt off, but you brush them aside because life is busy. Mark forgetting our daughter's school concert, the one he promised he wouldn't miss. Again, huge client call ran over, babe. You know how it is. His phone always face down, vibrating with notifications from numbers he didn't have saved. Just work spam. Honestly, the new clothes appearing in his wardrobe that I never bought him. Oh, that old thing, had it for ages. The excuses piled up like dirty laundry, but I kept washing them clean in my mind. He was successful. His job was demanding. I believed the image he projected, the tired, dedicated provider. But that Tuesday night, waiting in the silent house after the kids were asleep, the quiet became deafening. It wasn't just anger, it was a deep, cold dread. I remembered the weird charge on our joint credit card last month, a florist downtown, miles from his office. He'd brushed it off as a gift for his secretary's birthday. Something clicked. I didn't go through his phone right away. I started small, checked his location history once on our family plan. It wasn't near his office late at night. It was pinged near a quiet residential neighborhood across town, multiple times for hours. Then I saw the bank statements I usually ignored. Small, regular cash withdrawals, unexplained charges for dinners, toys, things we never got, a payment for a pediatric dentist. Our kids go to Dr. Evans. That's when the real digging began. Late nights fueled by fear and cold coffee, my laptop glowing in the dark, public records, social media deep dives with a fake account. It felt like spy stuff, but I was just a wife trying to understand why her husband was never home. And then I found her. Pictures of Mark, looking relaxed, happy, holding a little boy I didn't recognize at a park I'd never been to, with her smiling like a family, living in a house barely 20 minutes away. He wasn't just having an affair. He'd built a whole other home. He had another child. The man I shared a bed with, planned a future with, was splitting his life, his money, his time, his self, between two families. My kids have a half-brother they don't even know exists. The lie wasn't just to me, it was to everyone. He'd constructed this entire parallel universe right under my nose. And the scariest part, she might not know about us either. I'm sitting here holding this atomic bomb of truth, staring at the photos on my screen, and I have absolutely no idea what to do next. How do you even begin to process that? Meanwhile, life had to go on. The normalcy was the hardest part, making school lunches while my mind replayed images of Mark pushing that little boy on a swing, his son, helping my daughter with her homework, forcing a smile when she asked, "Is Dad working late again?" The guilt was crushing. Was I protecting my kids by keeping this secret? Or was I lying to them just like he was? Every family dinner without him, every event he missed, now screamed with a different horrible meaning. He wasn't just absent, he was actively choosing to be somewhere else, with them. The betrayal wasn't just against me, it was against our children, robbing them of their father's presence under a mountain of lies. I started seeing the cracks everywhere. That business trip last month when he came back smelling faintly of baby powder, the unexplained withdrawals from our joint account, cash, he said was for client lunches, but now, funding diapers and daycare across town. I found a secret credit card statement tucked deep in his desk drawer. Charges for restaurants I'd never been to, a weekend getaway to a cabin I recognized from her Instagram. The sheer logistics of his double life were staggering. The planning, the constant, exhausting performance. How did he keep track? How did he look me in the eye every single day and tell me he loved me? The man I thought I knew felt like a complete stranger, a skilled actor playing a role in my life while living his real one elsewhere. The fear started creeping in. What if confronting him made him vanish completely? What if he chose them? The financial security I thought we had felt suddenly fragile. Did he have assets hidden? Was our home, our savings, partially funding their life? And Sarah, was she innocent? My digging showed she worked a normal job, seemed active in her community. Pictures showed her with the little boy, looking genuinely happy. Was she another victim of Mark's deception, building a life on the same rotten foundation as mine? Or was she complicit? The not knowing was its own kind of torture. I was drowning in questions with no safe answers, staring at that unsent email, the photo of their little family burning a hole in my screen, while Mark texted he'd be working late again tonight. The walls were closing in, and I had no idea which way was out without bringing the whole house down. Inside that warm-lit house was a woman who might have no idea her partner was a fraud, or maybe she knew everything, and my world was the joke. Pictures from my frantic online digging flashed in my mind. Sarah laughing at a birthday party with the little boy, Mark grinning beside them. It looked normal, happy. It mirrored the life I thought I had. The sheer ordinariness of it twisted the knife. He wasn't just cheating. He was replicating our life with someone else. Was he happier there? Did he love her more? Did he actually love either of us? Or were we both just pieces on his chessboard? My phone buzzed on the passenger seat. A text from Mark, still stuck at the office. Babe, this launch is brutal. Don't wait up, love you. The casual lie sent while he was probably just blocks away, maybe even inside that house right now, made bile rise in my throat. Love you. How many times had he typed that to both of us in the same night? The deception wasn't just grand, it was relentless, a daily erosion of everything real. I thought about our kids asleep in their beds at home, trusting their dad was working hard. I thought about Sarah's little boy, equally trusting. Mark was betraying all of them. He'd built his double life on the backs of innocent children. A figure moved behind the living room curtain. My breath hitched. Was it her? Him, the little boy? I shrank down in my seat, a ridiculous attempt to hide in the shadowed car. What if Mark saw me? The confrontation I both craved and dreaded would explode right here, right now, messy and raw on a rainy suburban street. Could I handle seeing the shock, or worse, the guilt on his face? Or would he look at me with cold anger, foreshadowing his carefully constructed worlds? And Sarah, if she came out, what would I even say? Hi, I'm your boyfriend's other wife. The absurdity warred with a crushing pain. The front door opened. Not Mark, Sarah. She stepped onto the porch, looking up at the rain, pulling her cardigan tighter. She looked tired, normal. Just a woman at the end of her day. She had no idea the ticking bomb idling half a block away. One step, that's all it would take. Get out of the car, walk up the path, tell her, blow Mark's life apart. Expose the double life, the years of lies, the financial deceit, but the fallout, it wouldn't just hit him. It would engulf her, that little boy, my kids, shredding the semblance of stability any of us had left. My hand fumbled for the door handle, icy cold. Do it, expose the truth, end the deception. But my body wouldn't move. The rain fell harder, drumming on the roof, mirroring the frantic pounding of my heart trapped between the unbearable weight of the lie and the terrifying, unknown chaos of the truth. The porch light went off. Sarah went back inside, and I sat there in the dark, the engine still off, the secret burning a hole through my chest, knowing I had to choose and knowing neither choice led anywhere good. A sharp tap on the driver's side window made me jump so violently my head hit the headrest. A gasp tore from my throat. Standing in the lashing rain, illuminated only by the weak interior light, was Sarah. Water streamed down her face, plastering her hair to her cheeks. She wasn't smiling. She looked determined and scared, terrified. Actually, my heart stopped, frozen. She knew my car. Had she seen me parked here before? How long had she been watching me? Panic seized me, cold and absolute. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. She tapped again, harder this time, gesturing sharply for me to roll down the window. Every instinct screamed to gun the engine and flee. But my body was locked in place, trapped by her stare and the awful, dawning horror. Slowly, mechanically, my trembling finger found the window button. It whirred down halfway, letting in a gust of cold, wet air and the smell of rain-soaked pavement. The sound of the storm suddenly roared louder inside the car. Sarah leaned down, her face close to the gap. Rain dripped from her chin onto the doorframe. Her eyes, wide and searching in the dim light, met mine. There was no anger, just a profound, exhausted sadness that mirrored my own. Her voice, when she spoke, was barely a whisper, yet it cut through the noise of the rain like a knife. I know who you are, she said, her breath fogging the glass. Emily, right, Mark's wife. The confirmation, hearing my name on her lips, to send a fresh wave of nausea through me. Before I could stammer a denial or an accusation, she continued, her voice cracking. I saw you sitting here last week too. I needed to be sure. She took a shaky breath, bracing herself against the car door. He told me you were separated, that you lived out of state, that the divorce was almost final. The lie was so vast, so calculated. He hadn't just built two lives. He'd built walls of lies between them, carefully crafting narratives to keep us apart. The betrayal deepened, became colder, more sinister. But the raw pain on Sarah's face, it wasn't the look of someone who knew the whole truth. It was the look of someone whose world was also crumbling. Then she dropped a bomb. Her knuckles were white where she gripped the wet metal of the car. But Emily, that's not even the worst part. Her eyes searched mine, pleading, desperate for what? Understanding, confirmation of her own nightmare. I started digging, too, after I saw you. Something felt off, more than just a separation lie. She swallowed hard, the rain mixing with tears on her cheeks. I think there might be another one, another woman, maybe even another family, somewhere else. The words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. The world tilted another one, not just two lives but three. The sheer, impossible scale of Mark's deception slammed into me, stealing my breath. The man I married wasn't just a workaholic, or a cheater, or a bigamist living a double life. He was a ghost haunting multiple realities, leaving shattered families in his wake. Sarah stood there in the rain, waiting. Her revelation hanging between us, a horrifying possibility neither of us knew how to face, turning our shared nightmare into something infinitely darker and more complex. The storm raged outside, but the real tempest was right here, inside this car. As two betrayed women stared at each other across the chasm of one man's unimaginable lies, realizing the depth of the pit he dug might be far deeper than either of us ever dared to fear. Get in, I rasped, unlocking the doors. Sarah didn't hesitate. She slid into the passenger seat, shivering, water pooling on the upholstery. For a moment, we just sat there, two strangers bound by the same catastrophic lie, the storm raging, outside mirroring the chaos within. The shared horror forged an instant, fragile alliance. We weren't enemies. We were fellow survivors of Mark's wreckage. We need proof, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Real proof, not just suspicions for everything. The next few days were a blur of grim collaboration. Sarah accessed records from their shared accounts I never knew existed. I combed through our finances with forensic precision, cross-referencing dates and withdrawals with Sarah's findings. Mark's meticulous double life had a fatal flaw: greed. He'd gotten sloppy, siphoning larger amounts to fund this potential third life. We found transfers to an account under a woman's name neither of us recognized, in a city 3 hours away. Payments for rent, utilities, another life support system funded by us. The confrontation wasn't dramatic. It was cold, calculated. We waited until he was home, supposedly exhausted from work. Our kids were safely at my sister's. Sarah waited outside in her car, ready. I laid it all out on the kitchen table: bank statements, printed emails, location logs, photos of him with Sarah's son, documents hinting at the third woman, not accusations, just facts. A mountain of undeniable evidence. Mark walked in, his usual tired sigh already forming. He stopped dead when he saw the table. The look on my face, the color drained from him, leaving him ash-gray. Emily, ... What is this? He stammered, his eyes darting over the damning papers. It's over, Mark, I said, my voice unnervingly calm. We know, Sarah knows. We know about the money. We know about her. I tapped the name of the third woman. We know everything. His facade crumbled. The confident provider, the overworked husband vanished. Panic flashed in his eyes, then a desperate, ugly anger. You had no right, he spat. You don't understand. It's complicated. It's fraught. Mark, I cut in, the word hanging heavy. Bigamy, financial deceit, draining our lives to fund your others. I nodded towards the window. Sarah was standing on the porch now, visible through the rain-streaked glass, a silent, accusing witness. He saw her, saw the absolute ruin reflected in both our faces. His shoulders slumped. The fight drained out of him, replaced by a terrifying emptiness. He didn't deny it. He just ... deflated. What are you going to do? He whispered, the question laced with fear. Sarah spoke through the slightly open door, her voice clear and cold. We already did it, Mark. We contacted her. The third one, Laura. His head snapped up, genuine shock registering. He hadn't expected us to find her. She had no idea about either of us. Sarah continued. She thought she was the wife. She thought you were divorced. The final twist landed. He hadn't just juggled two families. He'd actively deceived three women, weaving separate, intricate lies for each. He wasn't just a cheater. He was a full-blown con artist. The sheer chilling, the scale of it stole my breath. But Laura, Sarah added, a flicker of grim satisfaction in her eyes. Laura had something we didn't. She recorded you last month, when you spun her some lie about needing investment capital for a sure thing, promising huge returns. She got suspicious. Mark, she has it all. On tape. Your confession about the money, the lies, ... everything. Mark's face went bone white. This wasn't just about broken hearts and shattered families anymore. This was about criminal charges, fraud, theft, bigamy. The walls he'd built weren't just falling, they were burying him. He sank into a chair, staring blankly at the evidence of his own destruction spread across our kitchen table. The silence that followed was louder than the storm outside, thick with the wreckage of multiple lives and the undeniable sound of justice finally knocking on the door. The immediate confrontation was over. He was exposed, trapped. But the real storm, the legal battles, the fallout for the children, the slow, painful process of picking up the pieces, that terrifying, uncertain storm was only just beginning to brew. We had stopped the lie. Now we had to survive the truth. Sarah, Laura, and I, we became an unlikely lifeline, bonded by betrayal. We navigated the legal nightmare together, freezing accounts, untangling the financial mess Mark created, protecting what little assets he hadn't siphoned off. It was messy, painful, but necessary. We shared information, supported each other through panic attacks and moments of despair. We weren't friends, exactly, but comrades in survival, united against the architect of our shared devastation. The hardest part was the kids. My children, Sarah's little boy, explaining that Daddy did something very wrong, that he wouldn't be living with us anymore, that he'd told terrible lies. It shattered my heart all over again. We got them into therapy immediately. They deserved support we couldn't fully give while drowning in our own grief. Laura thankfully didn't have children caught in the crossfire. Financially, it's a long road. Rebuilding trust feels impossible some days. The house feels too big, too quiet, haunted by the ghost of the man I thought I married. But slowly, brick by painful brick, we're rebuilding. Sarah moved closer to her family for support. Laura decided to relocate entirely, a fresh start far from the wreckage. I'm staying put for now, for the kids' stability, focusing on therapy, and rediscovering who I am outside of Mark's elaborate lie. The final hearing is over. Mark pled guilty, facing significant prison time. There was no dramatic courtroom showdown, just the cold, clinical finality of the law. Walking out of that courthouse felt like stepping out of a war zone. The battle was over, but the landscape was forever changed. As I drove home, the winter sun felt strangely warm on my face. I passed the park where I'd once seen Mark pushing his other son on the swings. The image didn't stab like it used to. Now it just felt distant, a relic from a life that was never real. The double life, the triple betrayal, the years of deception it's exposed. The truth is finally out, raw and ugly. But it's ours now, ours to carry, ours to heal from. The road ahead is long, paved with therapy bills and difficult conversations, but it's ours. We survived the ultimate betrayal. We uncovered the double life. Now, we get to build lives that are authentically, painfully, beautifully our own. The silence in the car wasn't lonely anymore. It was just quiet, a fragile peace, hard one, echoing with the sound of a future we get to write ourselves. I turned off the recording app on my phone I'd used for notes since the beginning. I didn't need it anymore. The surveillance was over. Now it was just about living.